presentation of mummification. We'll be going over the 7 steps of mummification.
The first step was to let the people know that someone had died. A messenger was sent out to the streets to announce the death. This allowed people to get themselves ready for the mourning period and ceremony.
The second step was taking the body to be emboweled. The embowelers were located in special tents or buildings. These buildings were called embalming workshops and were maintained by teams of priests. Oftentimes during the embalming, the priests would have to step outside to get away from the horrible smell.
The first part of the body to be removed was the brain. The Egyptians did not know the purpose of the brain, so they thought it was a waste of space. To extract the brain, a hook was inserted through the nose. The embalmers pulled out as much as they could, then put it in water to dissolve. Some people think the water was then thrown out, but others think it was taken with the mummy to the brewer chamber.
Next to be removed were the internal organs, the liver, the lungs, the stomach, and the intestines. A small slit was made on the left side of the abdomen. Then the embalmers reached in and pulled out the organs. Each of the organs was individually mummified and stored in little coffins called canopic jars. There were 4 canopic jars, one for each of the organs. These jars were protected by the 4 sons of Horus.
The body was placed on a slab and covered with either nacron or natron salt. The slab was tilted so that the water would run off into a basin. This removed moisture and prevented rotting. The body was taken outside and let dry for about 40 days, and the body was completely dried out. The wrapping of the body began.
Wrapping the body was a painstaking process. The body was anointed with oils, and a gold piece with the eye of Horus was placed over the slit of the abdomen. Yards of linen were used to wrap the body, and each toe and finger was wrapped separately. Charmed papyrus were placed between each layer of bandage. Egyptians believed that these charms of magical properties that would protect and bring luck to the body. The eye of Horus, the symbol of protection, was used often. The wrapping process would be stopped every once in a while so that the priests could say certain prayers and write on the linen. A final shroud was placed on the mummy to keep all the wrappings together. Mumia was added to the shroud to glue it all together. That's where the word mummy comes from. Sometimes false eyes were inserted to make up the applied. Then a painted portrait mask was placed over the mummy's head so the dead person's soul, K, could recognize its owner. The mummy was then placed into the painting decorated coffin.
The last step of mummification was the final possession. The final possession was where the family and friends and the deceased walked through the town of their way to the burial place. Mourners were paid to cry so that the gods of the otherworld would see the person was well loved. The more people who cried, the more he was loved, and the better chance he had of going to the afterworld. Before the mummy was taken inside the tomb, a ceremony called the opening of the mouth took place. Opening of the mouth. The opening of the mouth was performed by priests outside the burial chamber. This was one of the most important preparations. The family of the mummy recited spells while the priests used special instruments to touch different parts of the mummy's face. Egyptians believed that the mummy would not be able to eat, see, hear, or move in the afterlife if this ceremony did not take place.
The mummy was then laid in the burial chamber along with all of his belongings, the canopic jars, and the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead was not actually a book, but a collection of over 200 magic spells written on papyrus. This book contained instructions on how to achieve eternal life. Then the tube was sealed. Weighing of the heart. The most important task to achieve immortality was not actually seen by anyone. This task is called the weighing of the heart. Egyptians believed that the most powerful part of a person was the heart. The heart was never removed from the body because it was considered to be the center of a person's being. In this ceremony, the gods of the underworld judged the mummy's heart, or how well he behaved during his natural life. Maat, the goddess of truth, brought out her scale. On one side was the mummy's heart, and on the other side was the feather of truth. Anubis recorded it all. If the heart balanced the feather, the soul of the mummy was granted immortality. If the heart was heavier than the feather, if the sins outweighed the virtues, the soul was doomed to a horrible fate. The heart was thrown to a monster called Amit, or Devourer of the Dead. And that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching our presentation about mummification.